Hi folks, and welcome back for the last fly in the buzzer series. So we're really at the top of the water now, and what you see in the vise is a little fly inspired by Ian McGregor. He showed me a picture on Facebook of a sample that he'd spooned from a fish, and this is what I came up with to imitate that. So without further ado, let's get into it. The hook in the vise then is a Hanak H300 barbless hook. This one's at size 14. It's on a medium wire and it's finished in black nickel. The thread I'm going to be using today is from Simplify. It's Nano Silk at 6/0, and as you can see, it's white. As always with Nano Silks, I'm going to just get a touch of super glue onto the shank of the hook. And then I can use my silk just to spread that about a little bit. And I'm going to get a little bed of thread down. Now, I don't want to come much further than that down the shank, so I'm going to come with my snips and remove my waste. Now, for the body of this detached buzzer, I'm using some chenille. Now, this is micro chenille from Simplify, and as you can see, it's orange. Now, as with the original fly, I've managed to taper that off, and the way I've done that is simply by getting a lighter and melting the end, and that gives me a nice tapered out edge. Now I want the body to be twice the length of the shank of the hook, roughly. You don't need to be exact unless you're batch time for a friend. So I'll get a couple of turns in there, and then I can come in with my snips and remove the excess. I'm going to come all the way back to where I finished my thread off, like so, and I'm going to pause there. Now, I'm going to add a breather to this, and what I'm going to be using is from Uphaven. It's a fine poly yarn, and I really like this for doing my breathers. It's such a thin, if I show you it there on the reel, it's nice and thin. You don't have to split it or anything. It's already the right length for you. So I'll just take a little bit of that off, and I'm going to catch that just down at the front here. I'll remove the back bit, which I don't want, and at the front I want to just get a few thread wraps to hold that. Now I'm not going to trim it just yet. I'm going to bring my thread back to the centre of the thorax, and then I'm going to invert my vise. Next thing then, we're going to add some legs, and what I've got is pre-knotted legs. I used to tie all my own, but now I'm getting a bit older. Time's too precious, so I just pick up the knotted ones. Now you want to, again, you don't need to be precise with this. I just take a clump. Usually in this case I've picked up 3 or 4, and I want to just catch that underneath like so. A couple of turns to hold it into place. Then I can come in with my snips, excuse my fingers, and remove it. So there I've got my legs, and what I will do is in the top right hand corner of the screen I'll put a little picture of the reference material I'm using for this buzzer, and you can decide for yourself whether it was any good or not. So I'm just rolling a little bit of thread down, and what I'm going to use for the thorax is emergence dubbing. Now they call this one peacock green. It's a Nature Spirit number 79 if you're interested, and I've already got a little bit of it in my clip here. And what I want to do is take my dubbing needle and just open up the thread. Now you can just dub this on normally, but I find I get a lot better effect by doing this. So I've caught that in. There's some fritz appeared on that dubbing. I'll need to get rid of that. And then I'm just going to spin it up. Now as it's spinning here, what will happen is if I want to have this fishing right in the surface film, I would gink up this thorax area and my poly yarn here, and it would sit up in that surface film, no bother at all. So just thin that out a little. I'm going to bring it round, and then touching turns, I'm going to come up the thorax like so, one for luck. Then I'm going to pull everything back out the way, get a little knot in there, a little head should I say, and I'm going to add a tiny little amount of super glue to my tying thread, because what I don't want to do is come in afterwards to try and finish the fly. So I've added that little bit of super glue, and grab my whip finish tool, again pull everything back out the way, and then just using the blade of my scissors I can take away my floss. Now I don't want my breather being that long obviously, so I'm going to come in with my scissors and there we have, for want of a better name, I'll call it the McGregor Buzzer, as that's where I've got the idea to tie this. But it's on a very small hook, so it might seem big. I'm using a macro lens to film this, but the hook's actually quite small. It's the body and the wing, the breather that's giving it the size. I've hoped you've enjoyed that little mini series, and if you like, you could set up a cast with the fly that we first tied, that very heavy buzzer, a vicar above it, the dial back above it, and this fly on the top dropper. And what that'll do is you'll be fishing from the very depths up to the surface, and wherever the fish are in the water column, they won't be safe from your tying. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you've enjoyed that little mini series, and we'll be back to normal sort of flies after this. I'll see you in the next one.